What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports 200 Show. In today's video, I am live on YouTube, like every single video I do. And in today's video, I want to be talking about a lot of different things. We are closing in, ending on day 2 of NFL free agency. And, I want to be talking about, some moves that the Cincinnati Bengals have made. Some of the departures, some players that, signed someplace else in free agency. I'm also going to be doing a 7-round mock draft. I do those each Sunday, and I was unable to do one this past Sunday, so I'm going to do one today. And I'm also going to be talking about a few more targets I would really like for us to get. So like I said, I'm live on YouTube. We'll go ahead and get started. So, obviously, you look at departures. The main evident one is, Carl Lawson. Personally, I would have really liked if we would have re-signed Carl Lawson, but he ended up signing with the New York Jets with a 3-year deal worth $45 million. $10 million of that is actually guaranteed. And I was really hoping we could sign Carl Lawson. He was really, really helpful with our defense. Had 5.5 sacks this past season, but was actually responsible for 10 sacks, and we only had 17 on the year. And I was really hoping we get him maybe like a 3, 4, maybe a 42. I did not want to pay Carl Lawson any more than 14. And to me, I really like him, but at the same time, there's also a point where we cannot overpay our guys. And I wish we would have re-signed him, but in a way, I don't know. I'm kind of in between. I just really wish we would not have done that. I wish we would not have paid him that much. Obviously we didn't. But, he goes to the Jets. Hopefully he'll do really good, with the Jets. But I was actually quite surprised that he did not re-sign with us. I personally believe, part of the reason he did not re-sign with us was because the guaranteed money. $30 million of that was guaranteed on just a 3-year deal. So he's guaranteed to get at least $10 million each season by that standpoint, basically. And, I really, really, I wish we would have had Carl Lawson back. But we would have overpaid him if we did. That we lost Lawson, but we responded well. Yeah, well, I'll talk about that kind of later in the show, about, the signings we've made. Kind of talking about the departures as of right now. Also, a move, he wasn't really helpful to the Bengals much, in my opinion. But at the same time, I'm also quite surprised we did not re-sign him was Ethan Carter. He actually signed a 3-year deal worth $8.25 million with the Miami Dolphins. I thought Taylor would have maybe signed him for like a 2 for 4, 2 for 5, something like that. Because Ethan Carter to me reminds me of one of those guys we just keep for a while who's pretty good. That Taylor was a big fan of him. I thought we were going to offer him a pretty decent contract. See here. Do I think John Brown will be a good sign? Absolutely. You look at all the wide receivers right now. John Brown, to me, would be absolutely best case scenario. I know I was asked by a couple of people today, how would I feel if Juju Smith signed with us, or there is some BS rumor that potentially Juju Smith could sign with us. That's completely false. John Brown, to me, I think would be fantastic for us, in my opinion. I think he would fit well with the offense. You have him, Higgins, and Taylor Boyd. And John Brown is actually pretty underrated, in my opinion. I love him. Maybe like a 2 of with Marvin Jones signing today with the Jacksonville Jaguars for just $7 a year. Some of the top wide receivers have yet to be paid, like Kenny Golladay and Juju Smith. And Curtis Samuel has not been, signed either. It'll be really interesting to see what John Brown gets. I would 100% offer him maybe a 2 for 12 or something like that. If he would accept that, that would be absolutely phenomenal. I would just love, of all the wide receivers, I would like John Brown the most. Realistically, though, I know lots of people like Curtis Samuel. I really, really, really doubt we take Curtis Samuel. Because Nelson Aguilar, I believe he signed the contract with the Patriots around $13 million. Corey Davis signed a contract with the New York Jets for around $12 or $13 million. Those contracts are more per year than what Tyler Boyd's getting. Tyler Boyd not being biased, he's at least a top 15 receiver. Neither one of those receivers, Nelson Aguilar and Corey Davis, those guys aren't top 20. And Curtis Samuel, he's one of the top free agent wide receivers. Curtis Samuel, in my opinion, is better than Nelson Aguilar. And Curtis Samuel is also better than Corey Davis. Curtis Samuel could get a round 12 or 13 because those guys got 12 or 13. That's more than Tyler Boyd. And I would like for us to get a wide receiver. John Brown is, in my opinion, is the best wide receiver we could possibly get for like the bang for your buck type of deal. But realistically, if we were to sign a wide receiver, I personally believe it will be Josh Reynolds from the Rams. And last season, Zach Taylor, wanted us to get Michael Thomas, the wide receiver from the Rams, because Zach Taylor coached Michael Thomas while Taylor was with the Rams as well. But I would love John Brown. Realistically, I think Josh Reynolds. All the players who are not on the team right now, all the players who are not our free agents, I think Josh Reynolds is the most likely signing to happen. And I said that before free agency even started. Stephen Carter was like Ryan Hewitt. Yeah, basically. Fullback, tight end, hardly had any catches. Who is left in free agency that you think we need to attack? I actually have a list here. I want to be talking about that in a few minutes. We're going to kind of talk about the departures. I mentioned Carl Lawson. I mentioned Stephen Carter, signing with the Miami Dolphins. I have a list. I already mentioned John Brown. A couple of people I like. Well, I would like for us to get another edge rusher, but going back to the departures just for a second, Carl Lawson signed with the New York Jets. Stephen Carter, he signed with the Dolphins. Also, John Ross signed a one-year contract with the New York Giants. I was really, really, really surprised by this deal. In my opinion, the whole entire time that John Ross was on the roster and not playing, because the Bengals did not want us to play him because they were hoping they could possibly get a compensatory pick for next season. If we did not get a compensatory pick for losing Darqueze Dennard, how are we going to get a compensatory pick for John Ross not even playing? We're obviously not going to get a compensatory pick for John Ross. He goes to the Giants. I really thought the Kansas City Chiefs, the New England Patriots, some of those teams made a lot of sense for Ross. He goes to the Giants. I just really don't think that's a good fit at all. But be interesting to see, what Ross does with the New York Giants. But honestly, I don't think that'll be good for John Ross. So, what is left in free agency that we need to attack? Edge, wide receiver. Offensive line. I know that's kind of stating the obvious, but it's kind of concerning. Some players I really, really wanted, were Kevin Zeitler. I would have liked Joe Thuney, but I believe the Kansas City Chiefs overpaid Joe Thuney by a lot. Joe Thuney signed a 5-year deal worth $80 with the Chiefs. It's 16 on average, 16 a season. That's $1 million per game. As a guard, tackle is the most highest paid position on the offensive line. And, also Kevin Zeitler signed a 3-year contract worth $22 million with the Ravens. I was really, really, really hoping we would get Kevin Zeitler. I might kind of be an unpopular opinion. I would much rather prefer us sign Kevin Zeitler to a 3-year $22 than a Joe Thuney for 5 for $80. That's like half what Joe Thuney's getting. Zeitler is not what he used to be, but it's still a pretty decent guard. But Joe Thuney, I know everybody wanted Joe Thuney. There was rumors supposedly the Bengals lowballed him, in the final offer, and that's why he chose the Chiefs. Which honestly, if you're having a chance to play with the Chiefs, who've been in the Super Bowl for the past 2 years now, you're getting paid on average for the next 5 years $1 million a game. You can't really pass that up. But I was very, very upset. More so upset with Kevin Zeitler than I was Joe Thuney. I would have done that their contract in a heartbeat. I do not remember who it was. It was either Tyler Dragon or Ben Baby. They said that the Bengals did offer Kevin Zeitler a contract, but it was nowhere near what Kevin Zeitler was winning. That really peed me off because I was really hoping we get Zeitler because I really thought it was realistic because he's already played here once in Cincinnati. So I'd say offensive line, obviously. I mean, guard, tackle, more so guard. I would know we signed Trey Hendrickson, but I would still like a another edge rusher. Um, do I have? Yeah. Well, I do have Instagram. I have my Bengals page, True to Nation News. I mean, most of you all are probably from that. But I also have my podcast page, the Sports Behind Show, and I post different stuff on there. I post about my different videos I do. These come in kind of quickly. Like I said, if you're just tuning in, I'm live on Instagram. I was live on YouTube. Like every single video I do, on my podcast, the Sports Behind Show, doing a Cincinnati Bengals, free agency, talking about what the moves they've done in free agency, some more people I would like for them to sign. I'm also going to be doing a Bengals mock draft later in the show, so make sure to stay tuned for that. It's going to be really interesting. The different scenarios what we could possibly do because we've signed 2 corners and an edge rusher. Let's see here. Do you think we should still sign Gerald Everett? That's really interesting. I wouldn't mind Gerald Everett, but if we sign Gerald Everett, Uzama has to be cut, in my opinion, to kind of, if we cut CJ Uzama, we would save a couple million. I think Gerald Everett will get around similar to a contract with CJ Uzama. Maybe it's 3 for 15, 3 for 18, on average 5 or 6 a year. But the interesting thing about Gerald Everett, I mean, look at those contracts that Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry got for the Patriots. I mean, those are around 12, 13 million. I wouldn't be surprised if Gerald Everett's price will go up because those 2 tight ends have signed very expensive contracts for tight ends. But personally, should we? I wouldn't be against it. Anything more than 6, I'm not going to do. There's bigger team needs, and there's more players who can help our team. For example, the next question is, what do you think about picking up Rodney Hudson? I wouldn't mind Rodney Hudson. I mean, he's a very nice offensive lineman. I think he could do really well on our offensive line. And for wide receiver Juju Smith, no, that will not happen. I mean, I know on my Bengals page, I've gotten mad throughout the times, different game scenarios, stuff like that. I would never, I can never get over a signing Juju Smith because it's not going to happen. There's some BS rumor. I just don't understand why anybody thinks we could actually get him though. He's overrated. He's not a top 15 receiver, and he's going to get probably around 14 to 15 million. The other boy is better than Juju Smith. In a year or 2, Higgins could probably be better than Juju Smith. If you were able to watch a little bit earlier in the episode, I talked about where I really like John Brown. John Brown would be awesome for us. I think it would be amazing in our offense. But realistically, if we were to sign a wide receiver, Josh Reynolds from the Rams, in my opinion, makes the most sense. If I'm willing to bet on any player we sign next, if I'm willing to bet on one player who's one player left in free agency who I think we will sign, I think it's going to be Josh Reynolds. John Ross, he goes to the Giants. AJ Green's very unlikely. He comes back here. So the Packers are interested in him. I've said that for over a year because, I've said for over a year that Green should have been traded. Green with the Packers makes so much sense. But Josh Reynolds, with the familiarity with Zach Taylor and Josh Reynolds, the Rams, I think that would make the most sense. If we sign a wide receiver, and if it's not Josh Reynolds, I would be absolutely shocked. I think Tooney was a little unrealistic for us where we are at right now. Yeah, I mean, with the supposedly rumor that we lowballed Joe Tooney for a contract, I mean, let's say even if we were to offer him and match that offer, what the Chiefs gave him, which was 5 for 80, 16 million a year. That's basic $1 million a game for the next 5 years. If we offered him that, who's to say he's still not going to accept it? Because you're playing in an amazing offense. You're playing probably the best offense in the NFL, arguably. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, one of the best coaches. A team who's been in the Super Bowl the past 2 seasons. A team who's been in the AFC Championship game 3 straight years. Or you have the Bengals, who's won 6 games in 2 seasons. I mean, it's just it sucks with Tooney. I'm just really more upset with Kevin Zeitler. I think Zeitler, with what he was getting paid, I believe it was 3 for 22. That's a phenomenal deal. I've seen some people complain about he's too old anyway. If Kevin Zeitler is on our team, that's a major upgrade. That would help us so much. Let's see here. Why haven't the Bengals done anything since earlier today? I guess it's just a waiting game. I mean, kind of similar to last season. Bengal fans, including myself, really starting to get peed off that some of these top free agents are getting signed. Our own guys are getting signed. We're not doing anything. We're waiting to see what the market is for some of these players, and then we're going after them. Last season we signed DJ Reader, which, honestly, that's probably our biggest free agent signing at that time. You can make a case Trey Hendrickson is a bigger signing than DJ Reader was. DJ Reader is one of our biggest signings in our franchise history, because I know we've signed Terrell Owens. But at times, Terrell Owens was literally his last season in the NFL. DJ Reader was a huge signing for us. We also signed Trey Wayne, and at the time, I was really happy about that. Looking back, that I do not think that was a good signing at all. He's basically an overpaid Drake or Patrick who's yet to play a snap for us. But it's more so the waiting game. We waited. We waited. Some of our guys were, already signed. Carl Lawson, some of the Jets. So we go with Trey Hendrickson. If you saw my, Bengals page, I was not happy about that at all. At first, I was really upset. I would still prefer Lawson over Hendrickson. Looking back, Hendrickson's better than I thought. Looking at some of the more in-depth stats. But I would still prefer Lawson. I think the thing with Hendrickson, though, he's had 13.5 sacks this past season. A ton. There's no denying that. But at the same time, the Bengals signed him for 4 years, $60 million. I don't know if this is true. It's $32 million the first 2 seasons. I've seen a couple of different reports on that. But, I would prefer Carl Lawson. I like Lawson a ton. Hendrickson, 13.5 sacks this past season. But the 3 years prior to that, he only had 6.5. Hendrickson's more so like a sack guy. Carl Lawson, he'll get you sacks, but he'll also get quarterback pressures. And throughout their career, they actually had the same amount of sacks in their careers. Carl Lawson has more quarterback pressures. I know Carl Lawson only had 5.5 sacks this past season, and Hendrickson had 13.5. That's 8 sack difference, which is a lot. Like I said, I would rather prefer Carl Lawson to be re-signed. At first, I was not happy about Trey Hendrickson, but I'm starting to be more open to it. So I'm still not totally for it, though. Another signing was I want to pronounce this wrong. Chidobe Awuzie. It just sounded weird to say. The corner, who's played with the Dallas Cowboys. We signed him for about 3. He'll get around 7 a season. And that's going to be a replacement for William Jackson. And answer this question, do I think William Jackson is gone? Yes, I would be shocked if William Jackson returns, because our corner signings were specifically replacements for William Jackson III and Mackenzie Alexander. Awuzie, I believe it's around 7 a year, and it's going to be a replacement. Jackson is better overall, He has a better PFF rating. I prefer Jackson, pay a couple extra million. But, I mean, I guess we're trying to save money. We're going to try to get a replacement. That's going to be interesting, in my opinion, though. I would rather have William Jackson. William Jackson apparently does not have a big market. I mean, who's to say he wouldn't come back? Like, it's not guaranteed out of the question, but I would say 85 to 90% William Jackson is not on the Bengals next season because, we kind of saw this scenario before with Darqueze Dennard. It was unlikely that the Bengals were going to re-sign him. It turns out he had a small market, actually came back, played one final year for us. But Awuzie, to me, that's probably I'd probably give the Awuzie signing a B. The Trey Hendrickson, out of the three signings we've had so far, that's probably my least favorite because I really don't like paying somebody $15 million who up until the season has not been really good. I would give the Hendrickson signing a B minus, a Woozy, a B, and the next signing we had was Mike Hilton, the slot corner from the Steelers. I love this signing. I would give this one an A plus. I like Mackenzie Alexander. At the same time, Mike Hilton's a major upgrade over Mackenzie Alexander. Alexander's PFF rating was, I believe, 60.4. I mean, you look at Mike Hilton, his was, I believe, 68.9. But I really prefer him. I mean, he's a hard hitter. He's a phenomenal slot corner. He's one of the best slot corners in the NFL. And, with Mike Hilton and Awuzie, those are both going to be replacements for William Jackson III and Mackenzie Alexander. Personally, so far, the Trey Hendrickson one is my least favorite. I really, really like the Mike Hilton one. That's definitely been my favorite so far. That's a good question. Do I think Zach Taylor has potential to be a good head coach? I mean, he has 6 wins in 2 years. I mean, he has to get something going soon, or he needs to go. I mean, we don't win at least 8 games this year, and I know that's a lot considering how difficult our schedule is. I really think Taylor needs to be fired. I mean, he's had 2 years for this team. There's been a couple of bright spots. I mean, that win on Monday night against the Steelers was awesome, but let's be real. The Steelers absolutely sucked at that game, and the only reason we won was because the Steelers were that bad in that game. I mean, we had our first road win in over 2 years against the Texans. It is the Texans who have the worst roster, in my opinion, in the NFL right now. They're going to be the worst team in the NFL, more than likely this upcoming season. But 6 wins in 2 years. Zach Taylor's first season with the Bengals. We start off on a bad start, and we're just tanking. Everybody said we were tanking because that's just an excuse because we absolutely sucked. I mean, the tanking excuse for our first season, we didn't tank. We were just horrible. I mean, I know we had lots of games where we were in one-possession games the past several seasons. But, I mean, we have to get something going. Joe Burrow is a generational talented quarterback. We have to start winning games. We have to give him protection. We have to give him a really nice coaching staff that he likes, or he's not going to want to be here. But personally, do I think he has potential? Yes. Will he? That's a big question. If you've seen my Bengal, page, I'm not high on that Taylor at all. Still not sold on him at all. At least 8-9 games, or the playoffs, depending, how that goes around. But Taylor has to have a good season. I mean, none of this. We won 6 games. As bad as we were this past season, I hear the excuse. We doubled our win total. That's a really stupid excuse because, we won 2 games. His first season for his second season. If we win 8 games, I know we're doubling it again, but realistically, I think we can do better than that. I know our schedule's hard, but I think we're more than capable of getting some upset wins over some teams. Our free agency get a little bit better. Get some good offensive linemen for Burrow. Coming off an injury. But do I think Taylor has potential? Yes. Will he be good for us? I really don't know. I mean, that's basically the $1 billion question. I mean, if you can have a tons of talent, but if you don't have a good coaching staff, but I mean, it's really interesting to see. Hendrickson was a backup. As soon as he got the chance, he beasted. Um, I'm still not totally sold on that signing. Like I said, I would have preferred Carl Lawson. As I look more into it, I'm not really as upset as I initially was. But Hendrickson, to me, a big issue was just the fact up until this point, not including this past season, he only had 6.5 sacks. And he's way more of a he's more known for sacks than Lawson is. Lawson's more so, quarterback pressures, quarterback hurries. He'll get you some sacks, but they still end up having the same amount of sacks for their career. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, 4 for 60. They clearly have huge plans for him then, and I think it was one of those type of situations, because this happened just shortly after Carl Lawson signed with the Jets, and it reminds me several years ago when I believe it was the Lions were picking in front of the Bengals. The Lions picked Frank Ragnow, and the Bengals were going to pick Ragnow. The Bengals panicked and reached for John Ross, and kind of reach him. They're wanting a specific position, so they kind of reach at that position. If Hendrickson was 4 for 48 or something like that, I'd be much more open to it. The 15 is a lot of money for a guy who's only had one good season. I think Hendrickson was a move mixed with not signing Barrett. We were never going to sign Shaq Barrett. Because remember a couple of years ago, Shaq Barrett was open to signing with us, but, once again, we lowballed an offer on him, and we didn't want to come off a injury. And I mean, he's done phenomenal ever since. There was zero chance he was going to leave Tampa Bay. He's coming off a Super Bowl victory. I mean, playing with the best quarterback of all time, really has a good shot of winning another Super Bowl. Or he can go to a team who has 6 wins in 2 years. He can go win a Super Bowl again, back-to-back years with Tom Brady, a quarterback who has more Super Bowl wins than we've had wins the last 2 seasons. I just don't see how Chuck Barrett was ever going to leave Tampa Bay. Let's see here. Who can we sign this offseason? It kind of goes to my next topic here. Let's see here. Going before he signed the Bucks. Yeah, I mean, at that time, I really would have liked for us to sign Barrett. We offered him a cheap deal, but it's one of those situations where, maybe that could have, kind of been a potential replacement for Dunlap. Who's to say if we signed Barrett at that time? I know Dunlap was recently, coming off an extension, save some money there type of deal, but Barrett, I mean, that's just another one of those scenarios. Even this free agency, I know we've had a couple of big signings. I feel like some fans are overreacting about them, and they're more so replacement signings. But I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. And the thing about some of these signings so far is, we've signed Mike Hilton for 4 years, around $24 million. Phenomenal deal, A+ in my opinion. Hendrickson for 60. I said B, but I'm probably going to take that down to a C+. It's just I'm really, really, I don't know, kind of worried about how big of a contract it is for a guy who's only had one good year. And Chidobe Awuzie, I'd give that a B. He's going to be, William Jackson's replacement. He'll be making around 7. The thing is, we were a 4-win team this past season, and I know it's really early. We're only really closing in. I mean, we're getting ready to end to a free agency. But the fact is, we were a 4-win team last year, and we have yet to make our roster better. All of these signings were our replacements. Now, I've mentioned I like Carl Lawson more than Hendrickson. I think Lawson's better. I think Jackson's better than Awuzie. Mike Hilton is an upgrade over Mackenzie Alexander. But have we actually got better from these signings so far? Because I don't think we have. The only upgrade we have so far is Mike Hilton. Let's see here. What do you think will have the most improved season on the Bengals? That's a good question. But if I don't want to say Joe Mixon because he was hurt. He only played, I believe, 6 games. And when he played, that Jaguars game, he had over 100 yards. Take away that game, he absolutely sucked last season. But I don't really want to say Mixon, but I'm probably going to end up saying him because Mixon's best season was when Frank Pollock was their offensive line coach. Somebody also who I think may have a pretty good season is Billy Price, specifically if he would end up playing center at times. If Trey Hopkins does not come back by the start of the regular season, I think Mixon is on. I think he's going to get around 1,200 rushing yards. He led the AFC in rushing yards. When Frank Pollock was our offensive line coach. I don't think Mixon will lead the AFC rushing yards again, but I would not be shocked at all if Mixon gets over 1,000 yards. Like I said, I think Billy Price is also somebody else to consider as well. Let's see here. I would have been mad if we signed Lawson at the same deal we signed Hendrickson for. Lawson was injury prone. Pressures are okay, but sacks is what you want. That's what we got. Yeah, Lawson has missed some games, but also, Trey Hendrickson has missed some games as well. It's going to be really, really interesting to see. I don't think it was an upgrade, and the fact that you overpaid him is my issue. It reminds me so much of Trey Waynes last season. Trey Waynes was our replacement for Drake Kirkpatrick, and we overpaid Trey Waynes so much. It's a horrible deal. First, I liked it, then I absolutely, actually looking at it, I thought it was a horrible deal. But, Trey Waynes has yet to play a snap for us. He's making around 14, 15, 16, around that range a year. But, let's see here. Another question. What is your biggest surprise you could see happening for us? Realistically, that's a good question. I'm gonna go back to that. I want to think about that one for a minute. Getting Sewell as a run blocker would move Jonah Williams back to his natural position at guard, which would improve our running game tremendously. If we get Sewell, and if we have Jonah Williams, if we get Sewell, that's the thing to me. It's one of the things that really makes me upset is because the Bengals, yesterday when people were starting to get upset, but it's not signing an offensive lineman, and we have yet to do so. I feel like we're just taking a chance on Penei Sewell being there, and we're potentially screwing up our free agency by not getting an offensive lineman, just by hoping Sewell is going to be there at 5. If Sewell's not there at 5, that probably messes up their free agency plans and their plans to get a future tackle. But in my opinion, if you have Jonah Williams and you have Sewell, those have to be your tackles. Guard wise, I know we have Price and Hopkins. Hopkins has been the center, and Price has been the guard. And Price is a better guard than Hopkins, and Hopkins is a better center than Billy Price. But I don't think we could move Jonah Williams to guard. I think that's too risky. Defense is getting scary. Mike Hilton, in my opinion, is the only upgrade we've had of our signings. And our defense was crap last year for the most part. It was just very inconsistent. Let's see. What is the biggest surprise? Going back to this question, I would say, I'm all for this, but realistically, I don't really think it will happen. I think trading back. If you would have asked me 2 months ago, the real odds of us trading back, I would say it's much higher than it is now. But I don't know. That's really tough. But because if we don't sign a tackle and Sewell's gone, we could trade back. But realistically, I really, really think Sewell's going to be there at 5. So that's why I wouldn't think we trade back. But if Sewell's gone at 5, I think you trade back. If Sewell's there, you take him. Have a deal. So the reason I'm saying the biggest surprise would be us trading back is because the only way we trade back is if Penei Sewell's gone at 5. So that would also mean that Sewell would already be gone. So that would be the reason we trade back, if that makes sense. Got players that might be just as good. I do think Hilton is an upgrade over Mackenzie Alexander. Awuzie, I really don't think he's an upgrade over Jackson. Lawson Hendrickson, I prefer Lawson. I've said it, but either one. If it kind of is debatable depending. If you're winning sacks, if you're winning pressures, at that point, I guess it's debatable. If you're just tuning in, on my podcast, the Sports Behind Show, doing a Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to do a draft here probably in a few minutes, talking about some of their free agency moves, talking about some more people they could sign. Thanks for everybody tuning in and stuff. Make sure to like this video. Subscribe to the channel. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to maybe do an autograph giveaway soon. I'm not really decided yet. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. I really, really appreciate it. So we're going to be continue, answering some questions. We're going to try to do a mock draft here. And do you think we should cut Lawson and try to get more free agents? I would kind of like for us to. I wouldn't mind against us cutting Geno Atkins, but at the same time, if we could redo his deal and maybe split that. I think he's getting. I can't remember what he's making, but if we were to redo his deal and he got like 6 or 7, I would totally be fine if we kept him. But if he's not willing to take a pay cut, then yes. This to the right. If I don't trust this offense, I don't trust this team with drafting a offensive lineman, specifically an offensive lineman in the first round, and changing their position. We can go down the list for the past several years, and I know I'm going way back. Look at Cedric Ogbuehi. That was a bust. He was absolutely horrible. That same draft, we drafted Fisher in the second round. He was absolutely horrible. We've drafted, Russell Bodine. Absolutely horrible. Jonah Williams, he's one of the last, offensive linemen we've drafted. He's not a bust. He's been injured some. He's been good, but he's been injury prone at times. But Cordy Glenn, we traded back to get Billy Price, which was a reach, and we got Cordy Glenn. Looking back, both those guys were not good. I just really do not trust this offensive line, and more so this team, changing a top offensive lineman's position, especially in the first round. If you were to say that in the 4th or 5th, I would be more open to it, because if you're doing a 4th or 5th, you're not taking nearly as big of a risk having that player pan out. Because if it doesn't work out, it's a 5th round pick. It's not the end of the world. But if you're changing a guy in the first round who's going to be a top 10 pick, but completely different positions, I just really don't think that would be a smart idea. If we don't get any offensive linemen, we need Sewell or Slater. Yeah. If Sewell's gone, you got to trade back. Like, the way this is going so far, all the offensive linemen are going off the board. Trent Williams still there. I would absolutely love Trent Williams. Go ahead. I've not talked about free agent targets. I've been already on here like 40 minutes. I've not talked about free agent targets. Trent Williams is one I really like. Not going to happen, though. He's wanting 20 to 23. I would absolutely love for us to sign him. I think that'd be a really, really smart idea. you know. But I mean, we wouldn't have much money left over even if we would decide to sign Trent Williams. I mean, I don't get why he would want to come here, even if we offered him that money. I still don't think he would come here. But let's see here. They already said they would not move Jonah. I think Hart will start one more year, while Sewell or Slater will start at right guard. Yeah, the thing about that though, I think that's all coach speak. Like you know how some coaches will say stuff, and the completely opposite happen. I think that's coach speak. I think, if there's a scenario where Jonah Williams will play right tackle, he'll play right tackle. I know he may not be a big fan of it, and I know some Bengal fans might not be a fan of it. And I know I just talked about earlier how I'm not for young players changing positions on the offensive line with this team because I do not trust them doing that. But if we could get Sewell, you have to move Jonah Williams to right tackle, in my opinion. What do I think about Jamar Chase? I like him a ton. I think he'd be a nice fit. I like Kyle Pitts more. I know it's unpopular. Kyle Pitts, if there's only 2 players I'm drafting in the top 12, if we would trade back, Sewell and Pitts. Pitts is probably my top 3 favorite prospects in the draft. But I do like Chase a lot. I just prefer Kyle Pitts. So I already kind of mentioned Trent Williams is somebody I like. Also somebody as well is Ryan Kerrigan, and if you were looking at my Bengal page today, I would kind of explain Ryan Kerrigan and why it makes sense. Sam Hubbard is a free agent next season. I would really like for us to re-sign him, but it's not a guarantee. Ryan Kerrigan has played 10 seasons. He's had 95.5 sacks. 95.5 sacks over 10 years. Every single year he's played, he has had at least 5 sacks, and I really like it. And we need more edge help than people think. I know we have Hendrickson, I know we have Carl Lawson, but we really don't have anybody really good besides that. And Ryan Kerrigan, he nearly has 100 sacks for his career. Very, very productive. Something to keep in mind, this is a big part why I think Ryan Kerrigan could be a possible fit for the Bengals. While he played at Purdue, somebody who was also on Purdue's coaching staff at that time was Lou Onamaro, the Bengals defense coordinator. So his connections there, I think that could be a scenario. He comes here for a year or two. Cause it always seems like we always have a defensive player we sign only for like a year or so. I really think Ryan Kerrigan could be one of those type of players. And I think it would be really, really beneficial to our line and our defense. Just lost William Jackson just signed with the Washington. 3-year deal around $14 million. Looking back, that Aluzi signing, I know he might not be as good as William Jackson. That makes that signing look a whole lot better. Because think about it. Aluzi's getting around 7 or so. William Jackson's getting paid double that. That is crazy. I did not think Jackson was going to get that much, especially because there was just reports yesterday that his market was really, really slim. I really, really thought that he would maybe go to the Cowboys because lost Byron Jones in free agency last season. Also, another team I thought Jackson could have gone to was the Vikings. I thought it'd make a lot of sense because with the Vikings losing Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander last season in free agency to us, that is really, really surprising. That's way too much money in my opinion. But at the same time, we signed Trey Waynes for a similar deal. Trey Waynes was a far worse deal than that. But really, really surprised by that William Jackson signing. I think Kyle Pitts would definitely be a great pick for us. Yeah, I really, really like Jackson. I love Kyle Pitts, but how is his run blocking? I just haven't seen enough film. I've seen some people say, some analysts, his blocking isn't great. Personally, I think it's just a tad bit underrated, honestly. Not nearly as good as CJ Uzomah. Uzomah's more of a blocking tight end than he is a pass catcher. But And it's one of those scenarios, even if Kyle Pitts is not a great blocker, and if you still have a chance to get him, in my opinion, you take him. Yeah. William Jackson is not worth $14 million. I do not know how his agent got that. His agent needs to be in the war for Agent of the Year. So I mentioned Ryan Kerrigan. I mentioned Trent Williams. I really think those two guys. Also, somebody I really like for us to get is Larry Wolford. He did not play this past season due to the coronavirus. He opted out of the season. But in 2019, he was rated the 11th best guard according to Pro Football Focus. He had a 70.5 pass block and a 73.5 run block. To me, that's a phenomenal signing if we were ever to get Larry Wolford. I mean, that would make up for us missing out on Zeitler. And depending what we can get Larry Wolford for, that would make up for us getting Joe Thuney. And I know it sounds crazy, but Joe Thuney, how we were talking about how William Jackson was overpaid, Joe Thuney was overpaid. If we can get Larry Wolford for 16, maybe something like that, I would do that 100% of the time. Also, I don't know how. Let's see here. I don't know how I forgot about it. It was on my notes. I've been reading these questions, not really been paying attention. I also forgot. We re-signed Brandon Wilson. Safety / kick returner to a 2-year deal, around $4.5 million. Personally, I like that signing quite a bit. One of the better kick returners in the league. But I thought that was not a must signing, but something I thought should have happened. Rodney Hudson center could be a target if Raiders don't I don't expect the Raiders to re-sign him because he was released. Gabe Jackson was also released due to this Pro Bowler. That's interesting. I mean, I would not be against that. Depending what his asking price is. He's a Pro Bowler. He's 32. He'll win quite a bit of money. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to a Super Bowl contender because he's not going to play forever. Lindsley I do not believe he signed with the Packers. Packers makes quite a bit of sense so they can get some more cap space. But Rodney Hudson, if that scenario would happen, I would be all for that. Rodney Hudson at center, Hopkins at guard, Sewell and Jonah Williams both at tackles, and then you look at your other guard, and you can maybe you sign Quentin Spain. Yeah, that would be really nice. You think about wide receiver core? I like it. They're young and they're good. We just need one more. Yeah, I agree. If you're just tuning in, earlier, basically at the beginning of the video, I talked about I think John Brown would be a great fit here. Realistically, if we sign any wide receiver, I think it's going to be Josh Reynolds from the Rams. I love Jalen Darden from North Texas. He's a mid-round wide receiver. He had 19 receiving touchdowns in 9 games. Speedster reminds me so much of Tyreek Hill. If he's there in the 5th round, I would be all for getting him. He's one of my favorite players in the draft. This wide receiver class in the draft is so loaded, and that's part of the reason why some of these receivers are not getting paid. Like if you have a chance to get, I don't know, Jamar Chase locked up for 4 years, or sign Juju Smith for 4 years for $14 million each season, you're going to pick Jamar Chase. And that's why some of those receivers are not getting signed. But Jalen Darden, to me, in the draft, I think that'd be a phenomenal pick. Cade Johnson, I like him a lot. But free agency-wise, John Brown, realistically, I do think if we sign one, it's going to be Josh Reynolds. Pitts is a willing blocker. He can slow down defenders even if he doesn't win. Pitts, I think, is an underrated blocker. I know some people don't think he's that good. I personally think it's pretty decent. I think Green has 2 years. If he stays with the Bengals because he started very slow, but to start off, he got better. I don't. I mean, I know AJ Green's done so much for us. I do not want us to re-sign him. Give me a mid-round pick or give me a wide receiver who's going to contribute quite a bit to the team rather than AJ Green. Because one, AJ Green is not what he used to be. He's never going to be what he used to be. There's far more good days behind him than that there are ahead of him. And two, with his injury history, I'd be surprised if he plays 3 more years. I want him to sign with a good team like the Packers. I would really want him to get a Super Bowl ring. I would rather have him get a Super Bowl ring than him play with us this next season. But I think the Packers will make really a lot of sense for AJ Green. Is there a scenario where you could see us trading back in the later rounds to pick up more offensive linemen if we don't sign any offensive linemen from free agency? In the second round, for instance, let's say we take so at 5, and we want another guard. Let's say we want a guard because guard is a big issue in our offensive line. In the second round, we trade back. I believe we have pick 37 or something like that. Let's say we trade back to like 45, 50 around that. We get Trey Smith from Tennessee. I could possibly see that happening. But the thing about Trey Smith is blood clot issues. That's a serious health concern. And a couple years ago, for instance, took up Maurice Hurst. The Bengals stayed away from that. Could have had a chance to draft Maurice Hurst, but instead they drafted Mark Walton. And Maurice Hurst, had a serious heart condition. He ended up in the 3rd round. But I would really like Trey Smith. I'm going to start this 7-round Cincinnati Bengals mock draft. Let's see here. All right. So comment down the players you all like in the draft, the later round guys. Because I know in the 1st round we can all kind of agree, Pitts, Chase, Sewell, some of those guys. But to comment some players you really like in the draft. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to be doing a autograph giveaway fairly soon. And when I do it determines a certain subscriber goal. So if you could subscribe to the channel, I really, really appreciate it. I've been doing so many videos. Just last week, I think I did 22 videos or something like that on a week span. Really trying to get my podcast up and going, and I really appreciate your all support, continuing to watch this and everything. Whoa. Penei Sewell is on. Jamar Chase is available. That's crazy. If you can see the screen here, I will be doing let's see, crap. What position do the Bengals target in round 2? That all depends on what they take in round 1. If they take an offensive lineman in round 1, I don't think they take a offensive lineman in round 2. If they take a wide receiver in round 1, they don't take one in round 2. It's kind of vice versa. Let's say you take an offensive lineman in round 1, I would probably say you take a defensive player or a wide receiver in round 2. So go ahead and get started here. If you're just tuning in, I will be doing a PFF 7-round mock draft simulator. Cincinnati Bengals 7-round mock draft. So let's go ahead and get started here. The first 5 picks are Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Penei Sewell, and Jalen Waddle. I've mentioned before I prefer Kyle Pitts over Jamar Chase. And the majority of the time, when I have the 5th pick overall, I either select Penei Sewell or I trade back for Kyle Pitts. For the sake of being different, I want to take Jamar Chase. I really, really like Jamar Chase. Like I said, I do prefer Kyle Pitts, though. Has familiarity with Joe Burrow. He's one of the best receivers in this draft class. I think it would be helpful so much to this offense. He had 20 receiving touchdowns the last season he played. Obviously, this past season he opted out of the season due to the coronavirus. But Jamar Chase there, I know it's only the 5th pick, but that's actually quite a bit of a steal because I really don't think he'll be there. So let's see here in round 2. some interesting prospects available, like Jalen Phillips, the edge rusher from Miami, Florida, Carlos Basham from Wake Forest, Samuel Cosmi from Texas. He really shouldn't be here. Landon Dickerson, Aleem McNeil, Tyson Campbell, the corner from Georgia. I'm probably not going to do any trades on here early in the rounds to make it more realistic. Let's see here from Keith Brewer. Rumor is a lot on Sewell or Slater. Brian says trade back for Sewell. I didn't see any of these until after I already drafted. Some late round sleepers. Cade Johnson. I like him a lot. I would not mind him maybe in the 4th or 5th. Question: what do we trade Green for Ertz? AJ Green's a free agent, so that won't happen. And Ertz is going to get traded. I really think it's going to get traded to the Colts. I've said for months, the Colts and Carson Wentz make so much sense. If that happened, I really think the Colts will end up getting Zach Ertz. This is really interesting. Samuel Cosmi and Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips shouldn't be here. This edge class is loaded. Samuel Cosmi, I mean, he's the best tackle available. I want to take him. You know, I believe this is probably my first mock draft. Taking him. I mean, you're going to have Jonah Williams and him being your tackles, and those guys, you know, really, really young. You're going to be taking your quarterback for the next decade. I think that would be a really, really nice pickup here. I truly believe at this point in the mock draft, I know we've only done 2 rounds. Both these picks, in my opinion, have been best player available. You know, this is where it really gets interesting because, you know, if you don't know, which I would assume most of you do know, we've had a couple free agency signings with Trey Hendrickson, the edge rusher, to replace Carl Lawson. Chidobe Azui, I pronounced that name wrong, but the corner to replace William Jackson, who, you know, as I am recording here, was just recently signed by the Washington football team for 3 years, $42 million, around $14 a year. And then we signed Mike Hilton, the slot corner from the Steelers, to replace Mackenzie Alexander. So corner in round 3. I know we, you know, those guys are replacements, but I would not be totally against getting a corner in maybe the 3rd or 4th round. But, you know, right here, I probably wouldn't. So far, we have drafted Jamar Chase and Samuel Cosmi, and those have been phenomenal picks. I think both those players have been best player available. See here. I know some of you may say, like, why am I going down the list so far? Well, the interesting thing is PFF and Pro Football Network, their ratings are so much different, and some of them are, for the most part, very realistic, but some of them are not at all. For instance, Patrick Jones, last time, 138, I'm taking him. Patrick Jones is one of my favorite edge rushers in the class. Now, I do not understand why PFF has Patrick Jones so far down their list. Patrick Jones is available in the 3rd round. More than likely, that's who I'm going to take, and that's more than likely who I want the Bengals to take. Because I know, we signed Trey Hendrickson, but at the same time, we're back to square one in the way because that's just a replacement for Carl Lawson. And with Sam Hubbard being a free agent next season, we could really use another nice edge rusher. So in the 4th round here, I think all of these players have been absolute steals so far. So we've took Jamar Chase, Samuel Cosmi, and Patrick Jones. Trey Smith should not be here, and I personally don't think he should be. But this is the interesting part because you look at several years ago, Maurice Hurst would have been a 1st-round pick if it was not for his heart issues. He drew up to the 4th round and was drafted by the Raiders. Trey Smith could be a late 1st, early 2nd if it wasn't for his blood clot issues. But I'm going to take Trey Smith here because we have not figured out our guard situation because we have yet to sign a guard in free agency. I think all these picks is phenomenal. It's probably the best We could possibly, we maybe could have traded back and got Slater or Kyle Pitts. Got more picks. I'm trying to be realistic on this one, but all these picks so far have been 100% steals. If this happens, I would be so happy with this so far. So let's see here in the fifth round. Comments and players, you would maybe you would like to see us get, or some players you like. Chris Rumpf. I already had us taking Patrick Jones to Pittsburgh, but I really, really like Chris Rumpf quite a bit. James Wiggins from Cincinnati is interesting. I know we signed Brandon Wilson to a 2-year deal, but we have Bates, who's the best safety in the NFL. I think we could all agree on that. And we have Von Bell. Sean Williams, he's not going to be resigning. And half of his snaps were actually, actually the linebacker, and he only played 10 snaps a game. So I could see a scenario where we maybe take safety in the later rounds or so. James Wiggins would be an intriguing option. In the fifth round, I know this is the 169. We're picking 149. Like I said, some of the prospect rankings on PFF are very, very different from the actual rankings, in my opinion. And Darius Stills, there was a report coming out today that the Cincinnati Bengals were looking at Darius Stills and they've had conversations with him. I'm going to take him in the fifth round. It's a phenomenal pick. We need more defensive tackles. I mean, we have DJ Reader. As of right now, we have Geno Atkins, but I would say it's just a matter of time till Geno Atkins is released. Renell Wren, he's been injury prone the past several seasons. We, possibly we could re-sign Mike Daniels. I like Mike Daniels a lot. He was really, really energetic, really, really great player for us. Was really a locker room leader. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're just tuning in. Continuing the summer mock draft from Pro Football Network, from PFF I'm doing of the Bengals. We've kind of been talking about the moves that the Bengals should make, talking about the moves that the Bengals have already done. This is actually the most people I've ever had on here, so I really appreciate you all for tuning in and stuff. Perfect example, I talked about PFF and their rankings. Dwayne Eskridge, the past 2 months, is probably the biggest riser of all the wide receivers and one of the biggest risers in the draft. He could be, I wouldn't be totally shocked if he's a first-round pick when it's all said and done. I think he'll be a second round. They have him 193. I do not agree with that at all. Let's see here. Some interesting players available. This is like 6th and 7th round. You didn't really know who to take. It's difficult because we've kind of already hit on some of our team needs, and we've done placements for some of these guys. Robert Rochelle should not be here, and I like him a lot from Central Arkansas. If you watch Trey Lance's game against Central Arkansas, you will see Robert Rochelle several times, and I know we signed our 2 corners today, and Abuzi and Mike Hilton, but there's also replacements. We also need more depth at corner. I want to take Robert Rochelle here, the corner from Central Arkansas. I like that a lot. He's a small school guy. Does not get enough credit that he deserves because he plays at a small school. I love that pick there. This is going by relatively quick. We're going into the 7th round so far. Make sure to comment, some players you like, or maybe some moves we should do. But so far, this mock draft is phenomenal in my opinion. Ron Jackson, perfect example. Another one of those examples of PFF's rankings. If he was there at our pick, he was just picked by the Chicago Bears, I would have picked him. I like him a lot. So he reminds me of Robert Rochelle and the fact that if he would have played at a higher school, he would be much, much higher on people's big boards. First ball for Marshall, he's a massive offensive tackle. He would kind of make some sense there. He could possibly be a really, really nice candidate there. Quentin Morris, Feeling Green, that is crazy. He's one of my favorite late round tight ends. He's very, very athletic. Had a phenomenal Senior Bowl game. actually hurdled over a defender. Very, very athletic. There's also Jacoby Stevens, the safety from LSU. It was reported, I believe, yesterday that the Bengals are actually in talks about. They've actually talked to Jacoby Stevens. I would like Jacoby Stevens a lot. Braden says Ball is a great pickup. Yeah, he's really, really underrated. Him and Doyle from Miami, Ohio, are a couple of those late round tackles who could be really, really beneficial for a team. For being realistic, I'm not. I really don't know if Quentin Morris will be available. I do think Jacoby Stevens will be available. I'll take Josh Ball. I like him a lot. And, Quentin Morris or Jacoby Stevens, one's going to be available. Whoever's there, I'll probably take the other. So that's, I don't know who the Eagles took. So, I'm not even going to pronounce that. Jacoby Stevens and Quentin Morris are available. This is tough. And I know this is our last pick of the draft. The 7th round pick. But look throughout the years. We've hit massive hits in the 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds. Marvin Jones in the 5th round. Georgia Loca in the 5th round. TJ Houshmandzadeh was a 7th round pick. Auden Tate was a 7th round pick. I mean, we've had some really, really nice players in the late rounds. Quentin Morris, I like him a lot. He's one of my favorite tight ends. We have Uzomah coming off a season-ending injury. We have Julian, in my opinion, who's still a major, major question mark. But at the same time, Jacoby Stevens was recently talking to the Bengals. I think that could make some sense, especially with Sean Williams. Probably not going to re-sign with us, but we did sign Brandon Wilson. I want to take Quentin Morris. This really, really happy with either one of those players. I personally believe it's probably one of the best mock drafts I've ever done. Like, we got best player available basically every single pick. And, for the most part, that may happen in the first, second, time. But this, I do not even know how this was possible. Patrick Jones should not be there. Big Smith should not be there. Darius Stills, Robert Michelle, Josh Ball should be gone. Quentin Moore should be gone. I mean, they gave a B+ for Jamar Chase, B+ for Cindy Cosmite, B+ for pretty much all the picks except for Josh Ball. Overall, it has a B+ grade. I think overall that should be an A+ grade. That was really, really a great mock draft there. I mean, realistically, comment how many wins you think this team would have. Realistically, with the players we've added in free agency, and if this draft would happen, I think we could have about 9 wins. I'm not trying to be biased, but Jamar Chase would be so beneficial to this offense. So would Cosmai, Patrick Jones, with us sitting Trey Hendrickson, along with Sam Hubbard. He was injured for the majority of this past season. Trey Smith will be one of our starting guards. Darius Stills will be one of our tackles in the future. I like that pick. Robert Michelle, that's more of a depth signing. Josh Ball is a depth pick. Also, Quentin Morris is a depth pick as well. But I really, really like that mock draft. Let's see here. I have 20 people in here. I was planning on ending this video, but I really don't want to end it at this point. Just kind of ask me some questions and different stuff like that. Who do you think we should sign? Different things like that. I've kind of answered quite a bit of questions. But let me know what y'all think. Yeah, I'll do another Bengals mock draft. Don't have nothing else going on. I'll do a quick one here. So, a Cincinnati Bengals 7-round mock draft from Pro Football Network. Start this. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I really, really appreciate it. I thank you all so much for tuning in and stuff. It's probably the most views I've ever had in one video. See here. Offensive line needs to be upgraded more. Have a winning team. Yeah, I mean, I think we could. It should be upgraded more, but at the same time, there's certain players. I mean, best play available, can't really pass up on. 10 wins and maybe a tie. That's very specific where I like it. Um, so let's see here. A Cincinnati Bengals 7-round mock draft simulator from PFF. I'm not taking Jamar Chase this mock draft because I took him on my last one. I'm going to trade back here because my last mock draft I did not do any trades. So I'm going to swap picks with the 49ers, with the Denver Broncos. Let's see if we'll do this. They'll give us their first, their second. So we'll swap first round picks, and we'll also give us their second round pick. And let's see here. Their second round pick next year. So we take that. That was pretty good in my opinion. Really nice trade. Let's see. Aerosol 8. That is a reach. That is horrible. I really want to take Kyle Pitts, but realistically, I know we had to take Rashawn Slater here. So we take Slater. It's a really nice pick there, in my opinion, though. When you trade back, you get one of the best players available. You get a team need. But if we would trade back, you take Slater or Pitts. You don't take anybody else. So with this trade, we will get the Denver Broncos second round pick in this mock draft, and we will also get the Denver Broncos second round pick next season. So it really, really works out for us quite a bit. This is the interesting part, though, about us trading back because you don't know what we're going to do with our 2 second round picks if there was a situation like this. I would say take Tyson Campbell, the corner from Georgia, but it's a little bit too early. I really like Carlos Basham from Wake Forest. He's one of the better edge rushers. Him and Patrick Jones are probably some of my favorites edge rushers in the class. I'm not going to take Patrick Jones this mock draft because I took him on my last one. So for the sake of being different, I'll take Carlos Basham Jr. from Wake Forest. It's a really, really nice pick there. So like I said, with this trade back with the Denver Broncos, we get their second round pick in this mock draft, and they're also their second round pick next season. So it's quite a bit of good players. Liam Eckenberg would have been good if he would have took Pitts. If he would have traded back. But Ronnie Perkins, for example, it's really interesting. I believe Daniel Jeremiah had him in his first round mock draft, and here he's 61. I mean, this is really, really interesting. I know this is going to be unpopular, but I want to take Tyson Campbell because all the corners we've had so far are were replacements. So we've not really got an extra corner. I mean, Woozy is Jackson's replacement, and Mike Hilton is Mackenzie Alexander's replacement. So we still need another corner, especially because Darius Phillips is a free agent next season. So that's something to keep in mind. Eckenberg in the third. I mean, if we would have took Kyle Pitts in the first, that would have been phenomenal. Andre Cisco. I like him a lot from Syracuse at safety. Let's see here. Quite a bit of good players available. I mean, Joe Tyrone, I think will be drafted a little bit higher than that. Jalen Darden, I like him, but I don't know. I don't know if he's worthy of a third round pick. David Nixon, I've had Blake you're on here a couple of times. He's a really big fan of Nixon. He's one of the better defensive tackles. And, we did take Darius Stills, the defensive tackle from West Virginia, in our last mock draft. And I'm actually going to have us take David Nixon here because I already kind of talked about it. We have DJ Reader, who's coming off a season-ending injury. We have, Renell Wren, who's been injury-prone coming off a season. No, not a season-ending injury, but he's very, very injury-prone. Atkins has yet to be cut, but he's expected to be released. Mike Daniels is a possible, re-sign, but it's not a guarantee. Amon-Ra St. Brown should not be there. I mean, if we're going in the fourth round here, I really don't think he should be available. So let's see here. In this round, I'm maybe looking at wide receiver, depending who's available. Quincy Roche, that's a phenomenal pick, but he should already be gone. Wide receiver or guard, and the last mock draft I did, I had them take Trey Smith, the guard from Tennessee, in round 4. And I'm going to take Deontay Brown, the guard from Alabama here, because we have yet to take a guard. And our guard issue, it's a big question mark. I think guard's a bigger need than tackle. Bobby Hart is horrible, but he's not as bad as people think, but he is really, really bad. But in my opinion, I think guard is a little bit of the bigger issue here. I really like this mock draft too so far. Comment down below which mock draft you like more, the first or the second one. Something really interesting in my opinion is PFF has not been able to update their stuff recently because D'Angelo Malone, the edge rusher from West Kentucky, I'm a big fan of him. He's really, really good. He's actually returning to school, so I don't know why they still have him on here. Jalen Tallman in the 5th. He's actually a defensive tackle. I don't know why they view him as an edge rusher. I know we already took Davion Nixon, but Tallman, I don't think he makes it to the 5th. See here. Jonathan Adams Jr. from Arkansas State. I like him a lot. He was phenomenal against Kansas State earlier in the season. As Newsome, I like him a lot as well. I said the last round we were going to be looking at wide receiver. I'm probably going to take Daz Newsome here. He's one of the best. I know it's 166, but if it's more realistic, he'll be one of the best players available. He's really, really nice. He reminds me a little bit of Marvin Jones. See here. Thinking of move Slater, the guard, Tate Eckenberg. I don't trust. On the last mock draft, I talked about how I do not trust the Bengals team and their offensive line in general and everything to get a top tier offensive lineman in the draft. A guy's coming into the NFL and having them switch positions. I don't think you take that chance. And I mentioned if it was like a 4th or 5th round pick, like something like that, I would be more open to it because you're taking a less of a risk. But if you're having like a top 10 pick switching positions who has yet to play in the NFL, that's a big, big risk. And I don't think we should be willing to take that risk. But if Eckenberg's there, he would be really nice, but I don't think you should switch Slater to guard just because Eckenberg's there. Because, Slater, that's just really risky in my opinion. So, round 6 here. We recently took wide receiver and Daz Newsome. And like I said, round 6 and 7 is really interesting. I like Tariq Thompson quite a bit, the safety from San Diego State. I also like safeties like James Wiggins from Cincinnati. Caden Stearns, I like him quite a bit too. Maybe looking at safety here. Elijah Mitchell, I think he's a very, very underrated running back. He's one of the most underrated running backs in the draft. Trevin Grimes from Florida, he's so underrated. He does not get enough credit because he played with Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney. And everybody talks about those two players, but Grimes makes phenomenal catches. It seems like once a game. This does not get the credit he deserves because he's overlooked by his, two better players beside him. Let's see here. I'm going to take Tariq Thompson, the safety from San Diego State. I know we re-signed Brandon Wilson today to a 2-year deal worth $4 million, but he's more so of a kick returner than it seems that actually a safety. With Sean Williams, not going to probably re-sign free agency. Williams played actually linebacker and safety some, and I think that's a situation where Tariq Thompson can maybe a similar role and take over Sean Williams' spot. And Knox is super underrated as well for Marshall. I like some of my favorite late round running backs are Knox for Marshall, Elijah Mitchell, the running back from Louisiana, and Jalen Hawkins from Louisville. And Knox is available. We took Quentin Morris, I think it was in the last mock draft. It was between him and Jacoby Stevens. I really like those two guys there. I'm not going to take Quentin Morris in the last mock draft. I also Josh Ball, the offensive tackle for Marshall. I'm going to take Brandon Knox for Marshall here. We could use a little bit more running back depth. I know P. Ryan's a free agent and he done pretty well for us. Trevion Williams, he was all right, but I know running back is the most easiest position to replace in the NFL, but I think, Knox, being a 7th-round pick, being a running back, it's really, really difficult to make a team. But, he's really, really underrated. I think he would have a chance to end up making a team, or at least a practice squad. Because, you look at his career stats. I don't know what it is. I know he has to be close, but he's averaged at least around 100 yards a game for his career. So this is our last pick here. Ian Book, I know I'm not going to take him here, but Ian Book, let's say, if we were to trade back and we got an extra late 7th-round pick, he's somebody I wouldn't really mind because I think he has potential to be a decent backup. I know we re-signed Brandon Allen, and we had Ryan Finley. Finley, cannot throw it all. I know he played better in the Steelers game and Monday Night Football. Brandon Allen, to me, is still a question mark, but Ian Book was somebody I wouldn't mind in the 7th round. I'm going to take Jacoby Stevens here, though, with our last pick of the 7th-round mock draft, because the last pick of our other mock draft was Quentin Morris, so I want to take it being different. Jacoby Stevens, though, it makes so much sense. I know we already took Tariq Thompson, but maybe you can have Thompson and the safety/linebacker role that Sean Williams was in. I know we have a phenomenal safety duo in Von Bell and Jesse Bates, but Jacoby Stevens in the 7th, it's one of those positions, you may, already be tied at that position and you're already set, but it's one of those, you just cannot pass up on that type of talent there. So, also something to keep in mind, on this PFF mock draft simulator I traded back with the Denver Broncos. We swapped picks in the 1st round. They also gave me their 2nd-round pick this year and their 2nd-round pick next year. So trading back, we got Rashawn Slater, the offensive tackle from Northwestern. With our pick in the 2nd round, we took Carlos Basham, the edge from Wake Forest. With our second-round pick, the one we got from the Broncos trade, we took Tyson Campbell, the corner from Georgia. In the 3rd round, we took Deion Nixon, the defensive tackle from Iowa. In the 4th, we took Deontay Brown, the guard from Alabama. In the 5th, Daz Newsome, the wide receiver from North Carolina. In the 6th, Tariq Thompson, the safety from San Diego State. In the 7th, Brendan Knox, the running back of Marshall. For the last pick of the draft, we took Jacoby Stevens, the safety from LSU. Overall, I thought both of these were very, very good. But, it's very, very interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what the Cincinnati Bengals do with, the draft, especially, how we continue to do in free agency. Let's see here. Jets fan checking in. What are your thoughts on Lawson leaving? I wish we would have kept Lawson. I prefer Lawson over the guy, we signed for Hendrickson. But it'd be really interesting to see, what the Bengals do in the rest of free agency. I think Lawson would be really, really nice up with the Jets. We had 17 sacks this past season. He was responsible for 10. I was really, really surprised that the Bengals did not re-sign him, but I think it had a lot to do with the guaranteed money involved. So, I've kind of talked about basically everything. Talking about the free agency departures, some free agent signings, we were able to do, and some free agent targets I would like for us to get. Also did a Cincinnati Bengals summer mock draft from PFF. I thank you so much for everybody tuning in. This is easily the most viewers I've had at once, and the most viewers I've had in one video. You can like this video, and more importantly, subscribe to the channel. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you next time on Sports 200.